This section is on feeds and feed supply. One of the primary goals of a good beef quality assurance program is that we provide a safe, wholesome meat and milk supply to our consumer. To make sure we do that, we need to make sure that we practice good feed and management practices. We're talking about clean, readily accessible water from watering devices that are free from bacterial or nutrient contamination. We're talking about nutritionally balanced diets that are composed of quality forages and other feedstuffs harvested and stored to prevent contamination. And we're talking about feeds that are free of contamination and residues to prevent contamination and residues in our meat and milk supply. When we talk about purchase feeds, it is federal law that we do not use ruminant-derived protein in cattle feeds. And this is extremely important, and most feed suppliers will have affidavits and assurances in place that when you buy a cattle supplement or a commercially available feed, that it will not contain ruminant-derived protein. There are several medicated feeds and feed additives that are approved for use in the cattle industry, but they must be fed according to label, and we must follow the withdrawal times. Extra label use of medicated feeds or feed additives by nutritionists or veterinarians is illegal and prohibited. When we talk also about purchased feeds like grains, grain mixes, and other commodities, the supplier that we buy from should have quality control in place and stand behind their products. For example, if there's a mixing error and some antibiotic gets included in a product and you end up with a residue in a carcass, those suppliers need to be willing to have the quality control and stand behind that product. When purchasing commodities and byproducts, ask for assurance that they do not contain residues, and especially pesticides that can cause meat residues. You need to maintain records of feed purchases, like where did you buy it from, what date, how much, and those records should be kept for a minimum of about 2 years. When we talk about feed storage and handling, do not use pesticide or insecticide containers to either store or handle feed. Do not store chemicals, petroleum products, or other hazardous materials where feed is stored, processed, or fed. Do not allow cattle access to areas where chemicals or other hazardous materials are stored. Do not allow moisture, rodents, or birds to contaminate the feed supply. We need to take precautions against those, particularly the rodents and birds, and provide proper management practices to control those populations. Do not contaminate feeds with manure during feed preparation or feeding. That means using the loader that you've just hauled manure with. Make sure that it is clean and properly disinfected before you start mixing and using that loader for feeds, for example. Routinely check equipment for hydraulic leaks because the hydraulic fluid can also contaminate feeds. In summary, practice good feed and management practices. Make sure that you have clean, readily accessible water, that you provide nutritionally balanced diets, and the feed that's being used and delivered to the cattle is free of contamination and residues.